What if I told you that being physically present was super easy, but being emotionally present was a choice? And just because you're physically present doesn't mean you're emotionally present. Now, if you're already jumping in on this and you're like, yes, Nina, I'm here with you. I'm attuned with this. Fantastic. Get out a journal because we're going to take some notes and or mentally click save on this, okay? We're doing emotional arena work. That's why we're here. You are joining us in episode 4 of a 6-part series. And could it be helpful to listen to the previous 3 episodes? For sure. Is it necessary for you to take golden knowledge from this episode and start changing your life today? No, it's not. So, without further ado, here's the core of emotional availability, what this episode is going to focus on, okay? Emotional availability is about presence, not perfection. It's about presence, not performance, okay? I already want you to write that down because it is going to be a core piece of today's episode as I share with you that emotional availability is a choice. And it's the first one in here in which we start to realize as we work our way toward emotional security, it's the first profile that jumps out and says, hey, wait a minute, this really is a choice. And now I have the skills and the wherewithal to recognize it and make the choice. A lot of my clients will come to me and they will say, Nina, I don't know how to be emotionally available. I don't know how people do it out there. It's like they're just born with this. I promise you, they are not born with it. What they likely had was one of two things happen. They took a personal journey because their family didn't provide them with the resources, or their family provided them with resources that let them level up in their emotional arena. Either of those options, whether you took the personal journey or whether the family gave it to you, means that you had the privilege of gaining skills that not everyone gets. And I do think that this is important to recognize. Emotional availability is a privilege. But here's the thing. I believe, because I have seen it, that emotional availability is a privilege that more people actually have access to than they even realize. And so, with that said, if you'd also like the privilege of emotional availability, continue to listen in, okay? So, again, I said this is episode 4, and here's how our episodes work. I'm going to give you what's happening in a nutshell. I'm going to tell you a story. We're going to do a learn this, where I'm going to offer some psychoeducation with my therapist hat on. And even though I am a therapist, I'm probably not your therapist. So always put it in your context of your life, right? And then I'm going to give you an adventure challenge at the end of every episode. I want you to be taking action between this week and next week, okay? So, before I go into the story, I want to give you a recap on where we've come from and where we are. You already know we're working on the emotional security. You already know that we're in profile 4 emotional availability. The equation for emotional security, as a recap, is emotional fitness plus emotional wealth equals emotional security. You're going to want to know this because emotional fitness involves the skills that you have in your relationship with yourself internally. It's your ability to regulate, folks. Okay. All things that you can practice in your own life, making sure that you have the skills to regulate. This is an emotionally fit individual as they walk through the world, but it doesn't mean that you have emotional wealth. The next part of the equation is emotional wealth because emotional wealth is what you build in relationship with others. It's when you use your emotional fitness skills to level up in relationship with others, to go deeper, to build emotional wealth. Okay. When you have emotional fitness and emotional wealth over time, what you end up developing is emotional security. Yes, this is when you can be yourself without invalidating yourself and without invalidating others everywhere you go. It doesn't matter where you show up because you're carrying home internally. You're carrying genuine confidence and security internally. You're carrying yourself with you everywhere you go. So the world seems a lot less threatening. With that said, because we are moving from the first 3 profiles, which are the emotional fitness portion of the equation, into the very first profile of emotional wealth, right? And the next 3 profiles, I want you to take note of where we've come from and where we're going to. The profile before emotional availability, our last episode, really focused on emotional literacy. Now, I'll give this to you. Emotional literacy ain't sexy, okay? You're learning lots of language, you're learning how to label how you feel, but therein lies the gold, okay? Because for the emotionally literate individual, click save on this, click save on this. For the emotionally literate individual in stage 3, they're saying things like, I now know, and I'm learning, right, how to label my emotions. I'm learning how they show up in my body specifically, not what I was told how they look like, not how they quote unquote should look like, but how they genuinely look within my body. I'm learning this, Nina. And instead of avoiding the emotional discomfort that I used to feel, Nina, I'm leaning into my growth edge, and maybe I didn't avoid it. Maybe I was a person that blew up over it, threw it on everybody. I'm learning how to lean into my growth edge so that I can start taking responsibility for this. That is the emotionally literate individual. They're learning how to label what's going on with them. Now, if that appeals to you, definitely check in with the last episode and the story there. But today's episode, we're leaning into the next profile for the first of emotional wealth, emotional availability. For my emotionally available individuals out there, you are here telling me, Nina, I'm learning now which emotions are mine and which ones are theirs. Because it turns out, Nina, I'm learning that my nervous system naturally responds to how other people are feeling. And for the longest time, I thought it was things they were making me feel, but really, it's my body responding to how they're feeling. So what I'm doing now, Nina, is I want to be available for this human experience. I'm learning what's mine, what's theirs. I'm also exploring my emotions, and I'm genuinely taking responsibility for them, and I'm practicing taking responsibility for them. And here's the thing, Nina, it's not easy. I don't know if I want to do it every day, but then I remember emotional availability is a choice. And I can feel that now. I can feel that now, that emotional availability is a choice. So if that sounds like yo jam and yo jelly, let's continue on, yes? We're leaning in with emotional availability with the gentle reminder that this is not about spilling your guts. It's not about putting everything out there. Emotional availability is about taking responsibility for your internal experience. It's about being able to differentiate between your experience and someone else's. And it's about choosing to stay connected to you instead of shutting down when you're in the emotional arena with someone else. If this sounds like it might be beneficial to your life, I encourage you to continue listening as we go into the story for today's episode. And I do want you to put yourself in the shoes of today's character. We have a character in every episode, right? We've been through Wolverine, Spider-Man, Cyclops, the previous 3 episodes, and here we are with yet another superhero, Captain America. Haha. Now here's the thing. This isn't every Captain America you've ever seen. Captain America has a growth arc, just like all human beings have a growth arc, just like you have one as well, my friend. And so that's what I really want you to do. I want you to consider the facets, the parts of Captain America's growth arc. Very specifically, I'm going to give you some today. So even if you have zero idea who Captain America is, how they've showed up in any movie or comic, I encourage you to lean in. I'm going to give you a little bit of knowledge around this character. And I want you to put yourself in the shoes of Captain America, okay? So here's the thing, is a lot of people think of Captain America, and the reality is we look at Captain America and say, he's steady, he's grounded, he's responsible. But here's the thing, he is a man of duty, yes? D-U-T-Y, he is all about the duty and his responsibilities, okay? He's not about being emotionally availability because initially he sees this as a weakness. Now, if you're my character, my human being, coming from barely, right, eking out of emotional fitness here into emotional wealth, you might recognize this. You might say, that sounds familiar. I throw myself into work or my family duties or my community organization. But you know what I don't do, Nina? I don't really think about owning how I feel. I just think, let me show up, let me be available for other people. Let me just do this thing responsibility wise. But I'm not available to myself, not emotionally, not really. And here's the thing is, if you're not available to yourself, if you're not cultivating being emotionally available with yourself, how do you offer that to another human being? Click save on that and ponder that. The reality of most men is that you're going to carry this responsibility. And for many of us out there, right, hard workers, myself included, it's easy to get lost in the job. It's easy to get lost in building. I am an entrepreneur. And for those of you who are entrepreneurs out there and my ADHD entrepreneurs, hey, it's easy to have a million tabs open and forget yourself. But I am inviting you into the emotional arena here. I'm inviting you to maybe even embrace your inner Captain America and say, If I'm capable of showing up in all these spaces, could I also be more available to myself? Could I also be available in my own emotional arena? And I hope that the answer is yes, yes, yes. Because as you're learning, of course, to stay physically present, this is something you already know. You're learning how to show up emotionally instead of shut down. Now, also click save on this because shutdown for some people looks like literally avoiding, literally shutting down, you go inward. Shutting down for other people is more like blowing up. Okay. You're shutting down, you're blowing up. But either way, what you're doing is you're disconnecting from the present. Okay. If you're not responding to the present, you are reacting to something that is not actually here. Okay. You're shutting down or you're blowing up. So keep that in mind because I would want you to know in a moment where you might be triggered by something, what belongs to you and what belongs to the other individuals out there. It's a golden, golden skill to have. And so, as we look at Captain America, who originally starts with being particularly distant, right? Very much, again, locked in, I am a leader, I am a leader, I am a leader, but is not a leader emotionally, right? Not in that realm. The reality is, he has to grow over time. Quick break for a sec. If Empowered Human is offering you something valuable about courage, healing, belonging, or love at your core, you may want to work with me. In particular, if you know of or identify as a high achieving man, and I say this quite seriously because if you don't, I'm going to drive you up a friggin' wall. High achiever that has leveled up in every arena except your relationship with yourself or your relationships with others. Visit empoweredhuman.love for more on how you can level up in your relationships with one of our Empowered Human intensives. Intensives understand the value of your time. Of the 3 that I offer, Walk into Courage covers a month's worth of weekly sessions in just 2 hours. Dive into Courage is a 3-day intensive that can cover up to 6 months worth of sessions. And Ascend into Courage is a year-long program to give you the skills and the network you need to level up for lifelong emotional security. When it comes to leveling up in your relationships, I got you. Head to empoweredhuman.love for more, but for now, back to the episode. And there is a really beautiful quote. I wrote it down. I hope you'll bear with me as I see that I can find it. He has this really beautiful quote that he says. So you already see the stereotype, right? The leader, the character who's always got his responsibilities in line, but is not in his emotional arena. He's not actually emotionally available yet. And the quote that I really love doesn't happen in a fight scene or there's a civil war occurring in the film. But when you think about it as like the internal battle that we have with ourselves on do I share, do I acknowledge these hard feelings or not, right? And I'm, of course, saying, hey, let's level up in our leadership here. What the character says is this job, this life has cost us a lot. He's standing there in the battlefield, right? Everybody's around him. And I won't let it cost us each other. As a civil war is occurring, it's cost us a lot, but I won't let it cost us each other. That line says so much. It says, I recognize my emotion. I recognize that I am afraid, that I've had loss, that I have grieved this, that have high stakes here. I am aware that we are at war. He's not ostriching, excuse me, right? He's not putting his head in the sand. He's straight up validating the reality of the situation. And it's a tough situation. And then he says, and I recognize also what's happening in my emotional arena, my need here for connection, for emotional wealth, for greater capacity. I need you all. I do not want to lose this. That is the essence of a character who is solidly grounded in emotional availability. And I want you to take that with you and ask yourself, is this your turning point, right? Is that where you are, where you've recognized, man, there is some really tough shit going on in my life. I have a lot of pressure when it comes to responsibilities at work and things I do, and I do those things well. But you know what else matters? My relationships. And damn if I'm not tired of losing them or putting stress on them. If this is you and this is your turning point, click save, at least on this point in the episode. What is standing out to you? What are you noticing that is relevant to your own life? When you realize that emotional availability and the choice to be emotionally available is not a weakness, that it is, in fact, a stronger way to lead. You open up a whole nother world of possibilities and a whole nother level of access to emotional wealth that you could not see before. You didn't quite have access to it in the way that you do now. Even if it was always available to you, you could not access it because you didn't have the capacity. And I think that that's another pretty critical piece that I want to put out there. When we say emotionally available and we say, Nina, I want to be emotionally available, again, tie this back to the beginning of the episode. You're not saying, I want to be perfect. I want to be able to show up all the time. What you're saying is, I want to be present. I don't want to perform. And you know what, Nina? I've recognized at this point that what I actually need is greater capacity in order to do that. I need greater capacity in order to show up for myself and for the people who matter to me. And I want to start that journey today. That's my emotionally available individual out there. Now, it's okay if you're playing with it. It's okay if you're not sold on it. I am here to offer you something that I hope will be beneficial based on my personal and professional work. But if it doesn't work for you, as I say all the time, it's okay if you throw it in the trash and light it on fire. Really, I'll be okay. It's okay if you put it on the shelf because you want to think about it. It's also okay if you say, Nina, this resonates with me. I think this could benefit me, and I want to run with this. My hat is off to you then. I invite you to run with it to the best degree that is possible for you to level up in your life. So, as we continue moving forward after this story, I always say, a bit of a learn this section, and that's no different here. I've already given you some things to think about. I really want you to step into the shoes of this character now, though. This character, and if this is not you and you're like, this is not where I'm at yet, maybe somebody you know who's more like this, embracing your own inner Captain America. Yeah. And really checking in with where you are, your own level of emotional availability. Are you able to recognize what you're feeling? And are you able to identify when it's different than how somebody else is feeling? Are you able to say, I don't want my ego to get in the way of yet another relationship? I want to be able to show up more fully with other people, which means I'm learning that I actually need to choose to show up more fully with myself. Are you ready for that? There are 3 particular steps that I like to give, yes? And if you haven't taken the emotional security quiz, that quiz will be in the link. I encourage you to please go take that, yes? Learn where you are and learn what your next 3 steps are. I am gonna tell you the next 3 steps for this profile here. So, the first one is sharing your discomfort. Now, here's the thing is we've already come from emotional awareness and literacy where you were aware of it, you've learned language for it. By the time you've gotten to emotional availability, you're able to speak about it, but it doesn't always mean you're expressing it, which is why you're saying, no, I want to be available to express it. I want to be available to express it. And so I want you to start sharing your discomfort with someone you trust, with someone you feel safe with. It could be via text, it could be in person, right? That's actually not as critical as you making a choice to say, hey, this isn't a trauma dump. I'm not sharing my crisis with you. I just want to share with you, I've been feeling XYZ thing today. I think I'm struggling today. I think I had a hard day. I think I'm having some big feelings. I think I need to take a minute. Share the discomfort that you're feeling. I think I'm feeling anxious. All of these, right? Share a discomfort that you're feeling. And that's it. And that's all. I just wanted to share that. That's an emotional rep, folks. For those of you who are new to this language, we talk about doing your emotional bench presses. Yes. That building up in your emotional arena is just like going to the gym. You want to build up muscle in the gym, you keep going. You want to build up muscles in your emotional arena, you keep going. This is just one way to have that emotional bench press in there. Okay. So get you a rep in as I go on to possibility number 2, folks. Possibility number 2 is to practice boundaries. Okay. Now you're recognizing at this stage the difference between what's yours and what someone else's. So now you want to practice boundaries. Okay. Exit stage left is a fantastic boundary that I love to teach. Okay. Here's what I mean by that. When you feel yourself start to slip, to lose capacity to stay in the emotional arena and have the hard conversation with someone, because now you're available to do that. Yeah. You can stay in the emotional arena and have the hard conversation here. But when you notice that you're slipping either into shutdown or overwhelm, so you might blow up, instead of shutting down or blowing up, you are going to say, I need a minute, or I need a moment, or I need to just pause. I need us to pause. This protects the relationship. It ensures that you have not yet added more rupture to what may already have ruptured. And you're not adding more to the rupture. You're saying, let me maintain the bridge of connection that we have. I just need to regroup. That is an emotionally mature, available individual, okay? Please start thinking about, do I need to be practicing boundaries at this point? Can I be practicing exiting stage left, okay? I want you to have that skill. It's incredibly valuable. And then you don't just disappear, you're going to come back later. But this is why you set a boundary, because I just need to take a minute. I just need to take a moment. I just need to pause is literally just that. Not, I'm going to disappear forever because this is really uncomfortable and I don't want to deal with this. No, 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 no. We're not doing that, okay? We are setting some boundaries and practicing exiting stage left. Okay. That's potential option number 2. Your third step is to start finding ways to ask for support. Dare I say it? Start finding ways to ask for support. Now, what this could look like is after sharing your discomfort, step 1, hey, I just needed to share that I'm feeling anxious, sad, afraid, worried, stressed out, right? Whatever that thing is that you're feeling. Now you're going to say, I've shared this, can you be present with me while I sort this out? Can you give me some time? Can you uh, tell me what you might need from me since I'm feeling this way right now? You being able to ask what they might need as you're holding space, or to ask them to hold that space with you, that's asking for something you need. It's asking for support. And again, these are emotional bench presses. If you do everything yourself, you cannot build emotional wealth in that relationship. I'm sorry to say, but it is the truth. And we don't need to hide that truth. Let's own it. Let's own it and give you more agency in the emotional arena. Okay. Start asking for support. This is how the beauty of reciprocity begins in a healthy, well balanced relationship. Okay. It is going to be leading you into the next emotionally secure profile, which is emotional vulnerability. But we're not going to talk about that just yet because we're still here with emotional availability and the 3 steps. If you didn't write them down, here's what they are one more time. 1, I want you to be able to share your discomfort. That's it. Simple sentence, right? If they start trying to save you, no, I just wanted to share that and I'm working through it. Thank you. Right? That's it. Okay. Your second piece, practicing the boundary to exit your stage left. Okay. We don't need to blow up or shut down. All we need to do is say, I'm recognizing that I'm slipping into that zone. Let me take some space. I will be back. Man, if that isn't grounded and available, I don't know what is, folks. Okay. Step 3, you're going to be asking for support. Okay. Again, this isn't, I'm drowning. I need you to save me. That's not what this is. You're not a victim. Okay. You are a fucking leader. All right. You're an empowered human, my dear. So, ladies, gentlemen, humans of the world, your leadership is going to show through when you ask for support because you are owning where you're at. That is yours now. It's not anybody else's. It's yours to take care of. And now you're saying, here's what I need. I need to know what you need from me, or I need to know if you can hold the space with me, or I need to know if you can give me a minute. Asking for the support, asking for what you need. Yeah. Ooh, I love it. Okay. So now you've got the 3 different steps that you can be taking between this episode and the next episode. Yes, that could be your adventure challenge. My other one, I already stated it, right? No surprise here. The emotional security quiz. If you've never taken it, if you're unfamiliar with it, I invite you to take that. Just figure out where you are in the spectrum. It will also give you the next 3 steps. And if you want to listen to the other episodes, they're all here on the podcast. Yeah. That is what I planned for you today, folks. I really hope that you have taken something from today's episode that you can use in your life. I am so incredibly grateful that you stood with me in the emotional arena today as we leveled up in life and love and leadership. And In our upcoming episode, we will be focusing on emotional vulnerability. Yes, it is one step further than emotionally available. And I'm going to add one more quick thing in here before I officially tell you toodles. Okay. The reality is, most people are never going to make it to emotionally secure. I hate to say that in some way, shape, or form, but I want us to be realistic. Most people do, however, have access or ability to making it to emotionally available. And that's a pretty damn good place to be, folks. I don't want us to think that emotionally secure is where you should be headed and that's the golden goose and that's exactly what's going to work for everyone, because if the best I can do for you is help you get into your emotional arena and become emotionally available, the world that you're going to be living in, you can only imagine at this point. But man, do I want it for you. I really do. I really, really do. So thank you again for listening in. And I hope that I will see you in the upcoming episode where we can tangle in the emotional arena again.